Hello and welcome to the April 30, 2025 edition of the Low-Code Café. This is episode number 185. Today our main topic is going to be Razer web pages and Razer on disk, but Patrick will be demonstrating that in a few minutes, and it's not just going to be limited to that. We'll just have some nice examples of using Razer. So it might be if you're familiar with Razer, it's new features that are going to be beneficial. If you are not familiar with Razer, that's some patterns and things that may be useful to you to learn. We'll also talk a little bit about some hot fixes and things like that. So let's dive in. The Low-Code Cafe is an event that we do on Wednesdays, actually every other Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. So it's an opportunity for us to bi-weekly opportunity. We get together and present information to the community, to talk more about Plant an App and what you can do with it. And we spend the most amount of time on our hands-on coding. So today it'll be Razer, but one way or another, we try to educate capacities, capabilities of the system. We record all of these and put them on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/plantanapp. The QR code that you see there, you can use to get to the YouTube channel and sign up. We encourage you to sign up, subscribe, and hit the alarm bell so that you know when we post new content. Our agenda today, I'm going to do a little bit of from the trenches of support, and then Patrick Anderson will be doing our hands-on low-code, all about Razer. We do ask that welcome you to engage with us. There's the chat window if you're on Zoom, the Q&A window. You can raise your hand and ask a question. If you want to, we can go live. And then finally, when it's all over, there's a feedback form. So you'll see a link to that as well. Since this is presented bi-weekly, our next live webinar is scheduled for May 14th. All right, so a little bit of what's going on from support, and really we'll just talk a little bit about hot fixes to version 1.26 and our version 1.27. 1.26 was released back in June of 24. We have some hot fixes, and we will point out this is the only version that's in our official support until window. We support all versions. Typically, the support window is a year, and so you should make ongoing plans to upgrade and do the upgrades to Plant an App, keep current. But let's take a look at the hot fixes. I have a system here that we use from week by week that has hot fixes, and we just look at them and install them. And so you'll see that in the Plant an App configuration in the updates page, there are the hot fixes section. And since the last time there's only one that's been released, we can look at the details of it. This was a change to our forms product and the agreement links field. So if you happen to be using the agreement links or you want to, this is a field that lets you collect agreement from a user. For example, if there's some legal or terms and conditions, things like that. Previously, I believe it just came in unchecked, but now there's some logic. You can add some ability to have it come in checked if they've already passed, deemed that they have agreed. So it gives some capability that wasn't there before, and it also shows up more as a check. Let's see, what does it say? It's been upgraded to a drop-down menu instead of a checkbox, so it's a little bit different. So if you use that, just realize that it's going to look a little bit different, but it's not a breaking change. It'll act like it did before, but gives you some new capability. All right. And then I'll mention that version 1.27 is available with our starter plan, and it is currently in beta test as a release candidate. We will in the next week or two finish up on beta, and assuming that we have everything, all the issues with it, any issues that are reported in its beta stage resolved, we'll release it, and that will become the official version. But it is a good version, and we did a lot of work in the area of licensing, and that's why it's available with the starter plan right now. We'll be talking more about what's available to you if you decide that you want to get into 127. At the moment, I would recommend version 1.26. It's very mature and stable, and with all the hotfixes installed, it's the best one we have yet. I'll point out that there's another event that we do every week. It's called Low-Code Campfire, and so I encourage you to jump in and be part of that. It's every Friday on this same hour that we're doing right now. It's a meeting format, so we chat back and forth about the things that are going on with you as you are coding. Maybe we solve a problem or talk more in depth about what happened in Low-Code Café. So I would assume there'll be some talk this week about Razer. We do encourage you to join us. You can register in advance for the Low-Code Campfire. There's a link there. If they're not on the clipboard and not on the chat, oh, Patrick's already got them on the chat, so you can register in advance for Campfire. You can get to our YouTube channel. The community portal is a great place to ask questions, not just of us, but of the community. So do look there, look on the forum there. It gives you the opportunity to ask questions, help others with their issues. Also, there's a beta portion showing a place to report things that you might encounter with the new version 1.27 beta. Finally, that link that I mentioned earlier, that you can give us some feedback on what you thought about this webinar and tell us more about what you'd like to see in future webinars. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and let Patrick take over, talking about Razer web pages, Razer on disk, new features.
Okay, you're seeing my screen, correct?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So Dale, was just talking about hotfixes that are available for 126, and I just wanted to immediately point out that the features that I'm going to be talking about today that are new beyond the Razer tokens that exist already will be available as hotfixes as soon as they've completely gone through all the processes they need to in order to be available. So we're still doing some final work on some of these, but it's exciting new stuff going on. So I want to show it to you today. First of all, there's for the Razer tokens that you're used to having already, there's a new feature in those. And previously they have been stored in the database, and now we have moved those tokens into files on disk so that you can easily edit them using your favorite editor without having to always go into the tokens in configuration. So this makes it a lot easier for different people to edit them. And I'm going to demo that and how that works. And then we have a new Razer token that's going to eventually take the place of the existing Razer token. And that is using an updated Razer engine. I'm sure that any of you who have worked with Razer have probably experienced that you'll get ideas from the internet, and some of the things that you find don't always work with our Razer engine. And we have significantly improved that. As well, we have new options that you can use in your scripts. Like you can now take advantage of creating functions within a script, rendering another CSHTML file, putting HTML into HTML.raw, which can improve security of the token, so that you can you can have a variable that you've created ahead of time, and then you can put it into HTML.raw to render the HTML of that variable. There's also a base class that can be overridden to provide custom variables in all your tokens. That's an advanced topic. We're not going to take a look at that today, but just wanted to put a note out there that that is available. So
Patrick?
yes.
Yeah, before you move on, can you check
Mhm.
the chat, please?
Oh, I see. Sorry. Yep. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is uh, demo an existing script with using our old Razer engine, and we're going to take a look at where you can access that, how you can edit it. So the location of the files, I want to point out, will depend on the namespace availability. So if the token is global, it'll be an underscore default, and if it's not global, it'll be in the portal folder for the specific portal. So let's take a look at first. I'm going to go into, I have configuration open for this site already. Let me just refresh to make sure I'm all logged in and everything good. Okay, so the token I'm going to take a look at on the server when we go there is this date format token. So I'll first test this just to show you what it does. I'm going to put in the date here, and all it does is take a date in in whatever format you decide to pass it in, and it formats it according to the format that's in the token. I have another version of this token that where you can actually pass the format into it, which is handier. But I made this token like this on purpose, just so I could easily show you the changes to the token as I make them. But anyway, that's what that token does. Let's take a look at editing that token so you can get an idea of what's there. And that's it. It's pretty simple. So I thought that I was practicing earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. Good. It's correct now. Okay, so now we are going to take this token. Actually, let me just do one more thing here while I'm here. I'm going to just make this date time now token and test that. Okay, perfect. And now I'm going to take this token and we're going to go back over here and I'm going to add a new page. We're going to put it right at the top. My password editor is always getting in the way. There we go. That's better. Okay. Let me just fix that. So I'm just going to call the page Razer token testing, and I'm going to add the page. And the HTML module that's right at the top, those of you who are very experienced with this know this already, but I'm going to demo it just in case anybody's not familiar with it. When you use the standard HTML module, you have to go in and make sure you select replace tokens for the module in order for tokens to render. Otherwise, you'll just get the text of the token that you put in. So update that. Now I'm going to take that token that I just got. It's going to go. There we go. And put that in here. And so the date time now, and I'm going to change this to each one so that we can really see it well. And save that. So there we go. So we got today's date in that format that is specified in that token. Now I'm going to go over to the server. I have the server open already. And so this is the root of the site that I'm working on right here. And so let me just give you a little bit of a tour here on how things are working. So if I go into portals, and then first I'm going to go into underscore default, and go to Plantain app. So let me just make sure I back up for a second here so that you can really see that. So we're in the portal directory for the default portal, which is the global settings. And then there's a new folder here called Plantain app. If I go in there, there's a folder called scripts. And in there, there will be a folder for each of the namespaces that you have. They're global, okay, because we're under underscore default here. You'll also see namespaces for some of the Plantain app system tokens. And while they're there and you have access to them, I would just advise that it would be unwise to make any changes to these tokens, because that can really it could really mess up your system, especially your ability to update Plantain app smoothly. So let me go back here, and so these are the two system ones. This is a namespace that I have that is global, and that's showing up here. So now if I
But
go, yep.
so I don't think you mentioned when you upgrade to this version, any existing Razer tokens that you have, they get created in this folder structure.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for saying that, Till. That is important. So the Razer tokens that you have already will be during the upgrade process, they'll be converted from database tokens to and these files will be created automatically, and they'll be filed under the namespace where your token exists. So, and once again, global tokens will be under underscore default. If I go back here and I go into the portal 0 folder, notice here I also have a Plantain app folder. And this Plantain app folder, once again, just like Dale said, won't exist until you you update to the version that includes these features, and you have Razer tokens. That's when you'll see this folder here. So Plantain app folder, scripts, and I have two namespaces in my portal 0 tokens, and the one I want to look at is helper, and there's that date format token that we were just talking about. So I'm going to right click that and choose to edit it with Notepad. Notepad's or Notepad++, I should make sure that I'm specifying that it's Notepad++ that I'm using is what I have available on this server. You could use VS Code or any other editor that you like, but it's really up to you, but it just makes it useful. So I showed you the code in my token earlier, and you can see here you're getting the exact same thing in the file. So what I'm going to do to edit this file, I'm just going to change my formatting here, and this is specifically why I didn't have the formatting being passed in as a variable, because this is the edit I wanted to make. So I have updated this so that I'm using the long format for both day and month. And I'm going to save that. And it's saved. So now I go back to my site, and I'm going to close edit mode on this page. And you can see now I did have WED, APR, and now I have Wednesday, April 30th. So the token refreshed automatically. And if I go back here, now an important note, in order for me to see these changes on the tokens page, if I have it open already, I do need to refresh this page. So I'm going to refresh this here and go into my helper tokens and then edit date format. And you can see that the date format is now the long day and long month format.
So we're providing two different ways to edit, or the same thing. But the main difference is that the editing experience is now under your control. Previously, it was only available here in our tokens window, which is kind of limited and
correct. Yeah. And this just to give a little bit of context behind that, this came about because we have some customers that really utilize Razer scripts extensively, and they were actually, and I'm sure people watching this will identify with this experience. Because their Razer scripts were so detailed, they would often copy them out of this editor, paste them into another editor, work on them, and then paste them back in. And what we're doing is allowing you an option that removes that step so that you don't have to do a bunch of copying and pasting, and you just have an easier way to manage your really complex Razor scripts.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so so we have that. So now let's see. Let me go back to the presentation. Take a look at that again, and see where we come. So I've showed you that using an editor on the server, and that you get a refreshed token right away. So now let's take a look at creating a for each loop with our current Razor engine, and I'm going to do that too. We're going to take a look at a list of portal folders. So let me go back to the site. Here we go. And so I've put these tokens on here already. I'm really just going to highlight the specifics of the tokens. And so first of all, I want to make sure that we have a standard database token for files, and I have a standard database token for folders. And I'm just passing in for folders. I'm passing in the parent folder so I can get the child folders of any folder. And where this is going, the reason I'm doing it this way is that eventually I'm going to have a recursive listing of folders that also includes files. So that's where I'm going. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands why I'm passing in a parent folder. Okay, so then now I'm going to go to this token right here. And I want to make sure that it's clear that my Razor script definition here is, or Razor script is the type here. If I click on change type, you can see that I have Razor script, and I also have Razor script experimental. This is the new Razor scripting that uses Razor web pages syntax, and that's where we're going to look at later. But right now, I'm looking at this one right here. Okay, I need to make sure I just pull that back in here. I'm going to close that. I'm not sure why I don't have content here. Do I have content in any of these? Yes, okay. Make sure I'm...
Changing the type seems to have reinitialized, but
yeah, let me just refresh
maybe a refresh.
Yeah. There we go. Let's make a note about that, the experience. Because that's certainly not an ideal experience we just had. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing here is establishing a variable that's going to get a list of folders for a folder ID that's being passed in with TK and params. And once again, TK and params is our traditional method of creating a token where you pass parameters into it. You'll see later that we're changing this slightly in the new Razor engine, but that's where it is. So now I'll have a folder ID that I got to pass in. And so that's going into a variable called folder list. And here I'm going to establish a subfolder variable for each item. So I'm doing a for each here. So at for each item in the variable folder list, I'm going to say that that's a variable called subfolder. And then I'm going to create a list of the subfolders for those folders. So I'm establishing a new variable within the for each loop, the subfolder list, and that is going to use the same token, folders by folder, and we're passing in a new parent folder, and that's going to be subfolder dot folder ID. So we're getting for each folder that we get for this list, we're then going to get another list of its subfolders. And here, well, that's funny. I have oh yes, there it is. Okay. So here I'm just doing a count of the items that are in the subfolder list. So I established this variable and I'm using it here and doing .count to see how many items are in that folder. And I'm starting a list, and we're getting the subfolder.folder path so that we can see the path of the primary folder. And then if the subfolder list count is greater than 0, then we're going to show the subfolders for that folder and establish a new. So here we have a nested for each. This is a good pattern to recognize. We have a for each that's going to list top level folders, and then we have a nested for each that will list the subfolders for each of those top level folders. And that's going to do, we're establishing a new variable here called subfolder sub in subfolder list. So that's that list that I'm establishing for each of the top level folders. So let's take a look at and see how that works. I'm going to just go here and test that token. And I'm going to pass in 48. That's the right one. There we go. I will render that HTML so that you can see what it's doing. So I don't have a lot of folders here. I should create some so you can see it a little bit more, but I got an images, templates, and users folder, and then a subfolder within users called 02. And but this has some limitation here. The first limitation is that this is not recursive. All I'm doing is getting subfolders for this top level folder here. Ideally, I would want this to be recursive so that I can pass in any top level folder and then get a recursive listing of folders below the folder I pass in. That's the ideal thing. So that is what I'm going to do in our new token engine. Any questions this far? Okay.
No questions, but I forgot to invite. Please do. You can ask questions on the chat or the Q&A, and we'll pass them into Patrick as the time permits.
Cool. So now, so that's that one. And now I'm going to go to this next one here called recursive folder list, and we're going to take a look at that. And actually, because this starts to get a little bit long, let's switch over to the server.
So that first one was all about the existing behavior, the Razer token, the Razer type, and now we're moving off into Razer experimental, correct?
Yep, exactly. That's true.
So starting to see the new behavior and running it under the editor.
Okay, so I'm going to switch to my files namespace. So once again, this right here directly corresponds to, I think I'm just going to do a visual here so we'll make sure we're seeing this. So I have a namespace here called files. And let me put that over here, and I'm going to edit that. Oh, that's right. You can't once it's established as. So let me just. I think the best for people who may not be familiar with this. Earlier, I was talking about making a namespace global, and then they appear under underscore default. I just want to make sure it's clear that this is what I'm talking about. When you create a namespace, you have this option right here to turn on available on all portals. If you do that, then your tokens will be located in the underscore default /plantainapp/scripts folder. So anyway, my namespace here is files, and going back to the server, I have a folder here called files, and these are the tokens the Razer tokens that I have under that folder. And the one I want to look at next is recursive folder list. So I'm going to edit that one. And the first thing I want to show is that the top line here is inherits plantinap.tokens.core.razor token base. And I'm sorry to keep switching back and forth here, but I want to show something while I'm talking about that top line. If I go here and create a new token, and we'll leave it as new token, and I'm going to look at the definition. When I create a Razer script in our new Razer engine, that line is automatically in place. So you don't really need to worry about remembering that. If you create the token here, which by the way, there's a good point right there. The other thing I want to make sure you understand is that the token needs to be established within tokens in configuration. You create the token there, and then you can edit it on the server. But you can't create a file on the server and then expect it to show up in tokens. So there's another good note there. So we have that line at the top. So let me go back to server. And then here I'm also using system.text because I want to use the string builder functionality of system.text. So here I'm establishing a variable called root folder ID. And remember earlier I mentioned when I was looking at my other token that I was using TK and params. So we now in this new Razer engine, we're going to have token parameters as the how you initiate a variable that's being passed into the token. Now, as a note, I think it's handy just to have token parameters, but I also wanted to note that you could also just do model.folderID.toString. Model would get a parameter being passed in as well. But I'm going to leave it like this.
So those are synonymous? Model
Yes.
Token parameters. Yep. Great. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So folder ID is the parameter that you're expecting.
Right. Exactly.
Part of the token. Okay.
So here's something new. I'm creating a function within my script, and actually the function is doing just about everything. You can see that all I'm doing down here is just saying at html.raw, and I'm calling the function that I'm creating, render folder tree, and passing it the root folder ID. So, and that's the variable I established right here. So, and another handy thing about using a text editor is that I automatically get that highlighted for me when I highlight one of them.
So we have our first question.
Yes.
Mark asks, will the TKN params, the older format, still work?
It will work in your old Razer tokens, but it will not work in the new Razer engine.
So they're not really, the experimental version isn't really an upward compatible one. We're going to have to convert to the small conversions, but
right. And Mark, I know what you're thinking. So worry not. The old Razer tokens are not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So we're not going to. This is not. Yeah, we're not going to obsolete them. We're not replacing them immediately. We're offering this new option to use because of the additional functionality that it provides. So I'm creating this function here, and it's called render folder tree. So then creating a variable within my function, which is taking the parent folder ID that's being passed in, and calling the folders by folder token to with the and passing it the parent folder parent. That's the variable that we're establishing there that's being passed in from here. So then if I and so that variable's folders, and if the folders.count is 0, we're just going to return nothing. And then continuing, we're going to establish a new variable called SB, and this is going to be a string builder, going back to why I'm using system.text up here. And then we're using a pinned line from the string builder functionality to build the HTML that we're then going to put into the HTML.raw. And here we're starting the for each, where we're going to get each of the folders. So and once again using the the string builder append line, string.format, and then so we established an unordered list here, and here are our list elements, and we're passing in the so we're doing the index here of folder path and folder ID, and so our string is going to be a list item, and we're going to have the folder path, and then we'll have ID equals and the folder ID. This is not necessarily ideal. I'm not going for something really attractive here yet. I'm just going for functionality to show you what's going on here. And then we're appending. So this is where we are getting our recursiveness here. Then we're appending render folder tree to the existing string, and then an adding list, and then stopping the unordered list. And then once we are complete, we're returning the entire string. And then that gets put into HTML raw, and that HTML gets output. So let's take a look at that in practice. That is this one here. I'm getting an error first because I need to. This is actually one of the things that I just talked about with the developer earlier, is that when you run a test, it's not automatically seeing that there's a parameter and putting it in for you. So I have to type the parameter. Okay, so folder ID equals 48. And so now you can see the listing looks very similar to what we had earlier, but you can see that it is actually recursive now, because earlier when I did the old one, all I had was this line here, but now I have 2 additional folders that are under there. So we're getting a recursive list of the folders now. Does anybody have any other questions?
So far.
Okay, so what I want to do now is we are going to take a look at adding files, a listing of files underneath each of those. And I wanted to kind of build this out. Let's see what I got here. I can't remember. So let's take an edit this, and okay, so I gave us the this is my end product here. We have a little bit of time, so I kind of want to build this from a little bit simpler base point. So let me just drag in something else here, if I may.
So while you're doing that, Justin asks whether it will still save the token in version control. And I'm going to jump in and say the answer is yes. The token.
It is absolutely yes, yes. The tokens will still be saved in version control, and everything else that you're used to will work exactly the way they did. If you wanted to restore a token from version control, you can go get the text to import, and then import the token, and it will everything else is going to work exactly the same. So good question though. Let's see, I think bear with me for just a moment here. That's okay.
As Patrick is finding that, I'm reminded in Plantain app, we have this experience that ranges from no code to low code to pro code. It's the easiest way to keep it in my head, and so this obviously falls into the pro code category that um, you're trying to do stuff that actually is using some pretty advanced language capabilities. In this case, C Sharp. You can also use Visual Basic, but um, it's also, I guess it's, with it's great power, great responsibility. You've got to do some work to make it work, but you can get the impact that you're trying for.
See if I got what I want here. Okay, this is a little bit further along than I wanted to be, but you can see that I have some icons in here, which is kind of nice. So we've gone from that recursive folder list, and now in addition to what we had in the recursive folder list, we're now so here's the where we're going into the for each for each folder, and so there's the folder path, and then and here's where we're recursing into subfolders. And then for each subfolder, we're also going to look to see if we have files. This is a little bit more involved than it needs to be, but that's okay. This was actually some troubleshooting I was doing earlier. But so here we're doing another string builder append, and then we're actually calling another token that I have here. I'll show you that in just a moment, where we're getting files for this specific folder. So we're passing in the folder ID, which is our current variable folder right there, dot folder ID, and
So
then
this is showing you can call
ending
another
the list.
token
Right. So, and this is
and
the
passing.
and that's a good thing to make sure we recognize here, is that in this in the new Razer token engine, when you call another token, you're actually going to preface it with tokens dot, and then from there it's just like calling tokens that you're used to, files dot. So there's my other token, render files for folder. So files dot render files for folder, and then your parameters are in parentheses, just like that. So it's exactly the same except for prefacing it with tokens dot. And then I'm ending the list and then returning, and then putting everything into HTML.raw. So what I want to do now is I'm going to take this token, and I'm going to go back to our page here, and let's see, edit again for a second. I'm going to put it into an action form just because I like doing that. So that's really
Yep,
my
nice, easy
motivation
way
here.
to render stuff.
Yep. So once I get my, oh, there we go, start, I'm just going to add a static text. This name does not really matter because it doesn't show anywhere, but I just like to make sure that it's named. And likewise, I'm going to same thing up here so we don't see that default name. There we go. Okay, and then in here, yep, this one here. And I could make this dynamic, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it 48. 48 is the root folder for this the current portal. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And that's good. We'll take a look at it. So there's what you got. Not pretty, but it's functional and it's doing something. You can see the IDs for everything. So with that, what I wanted to do was go back and show you. And once again, I think I'm going to go back to the server so that this kind of highlights why this new feature is so nice. Because if I go if I were to go back to tokens to show you the token I want to show you now, and edit this, it's just a lot to try showing you here. And yes, I can do so. And once again, for anybody who's not familiar with all these options, I can do F11. Nope, that's wrong. I did. Uh, what did I do wrong there? Oh, I didn't have my cursor in here. That's what I did wrong. Okay. Um, oh, I've done this many times before. Maybe that's something else we need to check out because I don't seem to have the ability to do F11 here. Oh, there we go. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong, but I got it now. So you have this option too, but it is handy to be able to see it on the server in an editor where you have a little bit more control over it. So I'm going to go back to the server, and the one I want to show you now is this one here. So I'm going to open that. Take that to full screen here, and let's talk about the things that I'm adding in here. So most of this is the same. We are establishing that variable. We're just passing in a folder ID, but we're doing some additional things. I'm creating an accordion so that we can have some more functionality in place, and you can see that happening right here. Just using a basic bootstrap accordion here. And once again, we're doing the folder ID. And we're adding some other variables in place for the accordion functionality. So heading ID, the collapse ID. We're also putting in some icons. And here is where we're building out the div for each of the accordions, because remember, once again, we're in a for each, so this is going to be for it's going to be built out for each one, and adding a button class so that the accordion that's active will have some formatting to it, and then here is where we are actually getting the files. So once we've listed any folders that are in any subfolders that are within a folder, then we're going to list the files that are in that folder. And then here, of course, we're wrapping up the div and wrapping the final div, and then putting that out all to html.raw. And actually, the script here is I didn't actually get this working, so it's here, but you won't actually see this in action. But meanwhile, let's go back to our tokens here, and I'm going to just update this, make sure we have something that's actually functioning. Okay, excellent. And then we'll go back over here and I'll go and edit this. save that and reload it. And so you can see now we have, let me close the edit mode on the page. We have expanding and collapsing folders, and then when there's files underneath, get those. So it's actually kind of a nice, and you can see that we could, there's definitely room for improvement here, but it's a good example of the kinds of things that you can accomplish with Razer scripting. And there's all kinds of places we could go from here. We could make the files clickable so that you can actually download the file. That's the first thing I think of. There's some room for improvement on the our formatting here. And actually, I think maybe I'll just drag some files in so that we can let me get that set up here. Meanwhile, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I'll talk about one while you're loading that up. There was a question, and this is a general question, not necessarily related to Razer, but just about versioning in GitHub, and I can answer it. The question was, I found information about creating and saving versioning in GitHub, but I didn't find much detail on how I can restore one or more changes before saving them in GitHub, assuming that after some tests, something doesn't work correctly. So as you're changing any element, a token, workflow, whatever, if you don't commit it to GitHub, if you don't use the versioning to commit it, the changes that you make are permanent and are not, there aren't versions within that you can revert to. You're changing the actual item and nothing to revert to. If you change something and then save it to GitHub, and then make more changes and save it to GitHub, you can choose from among those versions to restore, but unfortunately there is nothing in our interface yet. It's on the roadmap to allow you to pick a version and restore, but it's not active yet. So while it's in GitHub, there is no restore mechanism. You can go to GitHub, and in the case of a token, for example, you can find the token in the GitHub interface, get the file, and that is suitable to be imported into Plantain App. So you can use the token import mechanism to get it back. So it's not that hard to restore something out of GitHub, but it's a manual process. So there's kind of lots of answers in there, and happy if you have additional questions about it, let me know. But thanks, Dragosh, for asking.
Well, my upload here was not real successful, but oh, there they are. They're all there. Okay, cool. So now let's go back to my page. And let's see, where's this? I don't have any caching on this tokens. Oh, there they are. Yep. There we go. So this also demonstrates that that is actually pulling in the logic of that Razer script is actually pulling in different icons based on. So there's an Excel, a spreadsheet, a PDF, a text file, and images. So we have different icons for each of those. And we can take a look at what that is. Oh, it's at the beginning of the function, right? I can't remember where I put it now. But am I looking at the right token? If you see anything, please let me know.
So that's folders with files that you're looking at. Do you want the folder list? No, excuse me, sorry. Render files for folder, is that the one you're after?
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I didn't even show you guys. Yes, thank you. I didn't show I didn't even show you that yet. So yeah, let me definitely switch to that one because that's yes. Okay, here's what I was looking for. Thank you, Dale. You saved me there. So yes, so this establishes another function at the top that the function looks up the correct class to add for the based on these, and there's a default. So if the extension doesn't match any of these, we just return the FA file. And then so yep, go ahead. Dale.
Yeah, so those are all font awesome class names, so they renders automatically. It's getting the right.
Right. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Font awesome class names. So here we're doing that's the name that we got to call, and then down here is where we're pulling in each one, and icon class equals. So there's their function being called, and the for each is the file. This is the variable for the each file, and file.extension.toString. So you do get icon class, and then
So you're
that, and then
passing
the and then you
passing the
use
extension and getting the
and getting the correct icon class, right? And then putting it into this variable, and then you just put that variable into your HTML. So another good example of creating a function.
and just again thinking about that one of the capabilities with editing in files in your favorite file editor with nice tabs across the top, you could have all of these different functions open and working
Exactly. Yep.
in a lot of them and follow the logic and tinker with changes at each of the different levels and then just see it render on your page. So a better editing experience as you're doing complex editing. Yep.
So here I have the main file, and then I know that when I'm calling it down here, render, and this is the code that's being put in.
And yeah, when you're in your favorite editor, it's gonna, if you get one that's working with Razer, it's gonna make do some suggestions and highlighting, and it's going to be a far better experience.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, we've kind of come to our 2 minutes before. It's a good time for any additional questions. And did you have anything left to present, Patrick?
No, I think that about covers it. Actually, maybe let me just see here. Let's go back to the presentation so that we can wrap it up here. So we did the portal folders, and then I mentioned that this line has to be at the top for the new Razer engine. We built functions. And then, oh, I thought I had one more slide here, but I guess it didn't not get unhid, I suppose. But it basically, I just wanted to talk about future enhancements. In the future, some things we have planned is easier access to core tokens, because I know that some of you have discovered that when you go to use core tokens, sometimes they don't always they're not always usable with the standard token syntax. You have to actually call the DNN functions within the script. So we're planning on making that easier. And then another idea we have is to make access to the entity model in Plantain app. We're planning on making it accessible without having to build separate database tokens. So those are some ideas we have for future improvement.
Nice. I've often used, or to the extent that I do Razer, because it's not one of my first languages, often you get help from the AI like ChatGPT, and the suggestions that it has often don't render well in our existing Razer engine. So with this new Razer engine, I think the experience of getting what you want to happen and it being up to date with whatever manual or AI you're using to develop is going to be a good combination. That's going to help you get farther faster. Very good. We thank you for spending the hour with us. We'll put this out on YouTube in the next day. So if you want to see any part of it in replay, it'll be available there. And we'll get together again in 2 weeks, and we'll do an additional a new topic and continue to explore Plant and App. Patrick, thanks for joining. Thanks for presenting.
Absolutely.